Welcome everyone to Chasing Tents. My name is Abby. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. This video is very important because it's all about steering dampers, a topic a lot of people don't discuss or talk about, but they are very, very important, and how tinkering with them can really help you with better rideability on the road and huge amount of confidence at the racetrack, so you get better lap times. Now, two people without whom this video would not be possible. Their information was absolutely beautiful in making this video. Bob Collins from FWR Limited, who is also 2006 British Superstock champion, a good friend and a mentor as well. Now, Bob has also raced at Isle of Man and Northwest 200. Now, Bob gave me a perspective on the kind of road racing side, where how steering dampers really helped him with different undulations on the tarmac, on the road racing scene. And on the other side, Levi Day. If you know Levi from Sublime Designs, he's the guy who is behind my Aprilia RSV4 RF's livery, and Levi races at the Ducati Tri-Options Championship in UK, and he's also a riding coach. Now, Levi gave me a perspective on the closed circuit scene these days, how he's raced with Ducati V2, Aprilia RSV4 RF, and kind of inline bikes, and how the steering damper settings really helped him with better confidence on the racetrack. So guys, let's start this video. I'm going to divide the video again like last time with a remap video, different questions and answers. All the questions will be in the description section, so you'll be able to see all the questions. Now, I'll start with the first question. So why am I actually making this video? I've seen a lot of people asking this question on the online forums. While cleaning their bike, they might have touched their steering dampers and they've moved because they're kind of free, and they've said, oh, is this supposed to move? So it got me thinking, if some people have touched the steering damper and it's moved, have they actually ever played around with the setting? Do they actually know the importance of the steering damper and how it can help them? Even I didn't know that until the beginning of last year. Now, I was at Portimao, and Stuart Jenner from Redline Track Days kind of changed the steering damper settings, and that gave me so much confidence, and I went 3 seconds quicker straight away at the next session. So I'll go through everything with you, and I'll tell you exactly how the steering damper can really help you with various things, road or track. So very briefly, what is actually a steering damper? A steering damper is basically a safety device, or you can say it's like a suspension for your steering on a motorbike. It increases rider control by minimizing unwanted steering movements and reduces the risk of a steering wobble, or a lot of people call it tank slapper, or the worst term I know is a death wobble, and I'm going to come back to it why I think it's the worst term. Let's move on to the next question, which is, how do you actually get a tank slapper or a massive steering wobble, or the dreaded term death wobble? Now, it could be due to a number of reasons. Number one, it could be different kind of undulations on the road. It could be gutter lids, bumps, camber of the tarmac, and it also could be abrupt power delivery, or anything which can make the steering nervous or twitchy, especially wheelies, because especially when the wheel comes down, it lands at an angle, or sometimes the wheelie is so long that the front wheel stops rotating, and when the wheel lands, it can cause massive oscillations, which can really lead to a massive steering wobble or a tank slapper. Now, two top tips, how to cure a tank slapper. Now, Paul Orrit, who had the mother of all tank slappers at the Isle of Man TT, said the best way to cure a tank slapper is actually giving it keeping your arms loose and giving more acceleration, and the kind of tank slapper cures itself. A lot of times the basic instinct is to leave the acceleration because everyone panics, and that can lead to a lot of wobble. So giving it more acceleration cures tank slapper. Direct from Paul Orrit. Secondly, what personally, I don't like this term death wobble. Now, I've seen a lot of people using it on YouTube, death wobble or death wobble, like they say in America. Now, death wobble, I think psychologically you should not be using terminology like this, because if you're on the road or a track, you get a tank slapper or a death wobble, words like death wobble, straight away you're going to think, I'm going to die. It's psychological. I know it's something quite strange I'm talking about, but it works. So words like death wobble, I don't think should be used. And same way I was telling you once when I did my Donington video once, that do not watch a lot of crash videos, because when you watch a crash video and you go into the gravel, all you think about is crashing. So don't kind of have these kind of words in your head, death wobble, because all you're going to be thinking about is, oh my God, that's it, I've had it. So think about tank slappers, then you think about how to cure a tank slapper is by giving it some. So that's just two quick tips I wanted to give you. Let's move on to the next question. How does a steering damper work? It's very simple. The steering damper moves with the handlebars. The faster steering damper moves with the handlebars, the more resistance it provides, which obviously reduces the undue steering oscillations massively. So let's move on to the next question. How many types of steering dampers do we have? We have three main types of steering dampers. Number one, linear ones. These are the most common ones you see on top of, say, for example, Kawasaki ZX-10R. They've got sitting on top of their yoke. Also, like my bike Aprilia RSV4 RF, they've just got it below the top yoke, and also you can see they are on the side of some bikes as well. Secondly, you've got the radial ones. They are a bit more rounder. They sit right in the middle on the like top stem yoke of the bike. Then you've got the electronic steering dampers. For example, the Fireblade has it just below, underneath the tank, not far from the yoke, and they are like electronically controlled. So what makes these three types of dampers so different? I mean, how are they different? Because they all do the same thing. Now, like I said, even though they all do the same thing, but they do it differently, and some do it better than the others. For example, the radial ones have evolved from off-road bikes, and they've moved from off-road bikes to now circuit bikes or road bikes, so they aren't as common as the linear ones, whereas the linear ones have had a lot of research and development go into them, and these are very common in your road bikes and racing as well, and they are very aesthetically pleasing as well. That's probably a personal opinion, but also especially sitting on top of your stem yoke of the bike, they look quite pretty. Now, the electronic ones are debatable, because I still think, for example, the electronic suspension we've got now, we've got the version 2 in the R1M and the Ducati Panigale V4, we've got the version 2 electronic suspension. I still think, even though now we've got the version 2 steering dampers, they're still not there. The artificial intelligence is still not clever. That's why it's not used by racers in a lot of the racing scenarios. Hence, the racers still prefer the manual kind of steering damper. So I think the electronic dampers are there and they're really good, but they're still not there in racing scenarios. But on the kind of touring side, of off-road side, where people do a lot of touring on rugged terrain, I think the electronic dampers are absolutely spot on. So on this basis, you can make an informed decision yourself on which steering damper has gone through a lot of research and development through racing or different scenarios, and which company is actually putting a lot of hard work, a lot of kind of R&D money into it, and hence producing a better product. Now the next question is, do you want a steering damper? Maybe after this video you probably do. However, the famous words of Levi Day, and I must tell you, Levi said something quite interesting, and I absolutely loved this statement. He said, if you constantly feel the need of having stability in the front, and you feel that you need a steering damper, or you might say if you have a steering damper and you want to change the setting all the time, or you don't have a steering damper and you have a lot of juddering going on in the front, then you might be trying to mask a bigger issue, which could be badly set up suspension, bad alignment, uneven tire wear, tire pressures, or poorly repaired job, or a bad bike rebuild. So that's a really good point. Next question is, do you need a steering damper? Yes, of course, as a safety device, they are absolutely fantastic. But what you got to realize is that road OEM steering dampers are too soft. You need something a bit more with resistance. So basically, revalving your steering damper is a great idea if you go on the racetrack regularly, or if you are a racer. And most importantly, what you got to realize is, whenever you give your suspension for servicing, make sure you also give your steering damper for servicing, because if you don't service your steering damper, the steering can get, the handlebars can get stuck, the seals can break, and you could be in a lot of trouble. So next are two questions gelled into one. Why revalve your steering damper, and how will this damper dynamically benefit you? Now, most riders or racers like their steering to be very light, so why would you want to make the steering damper stiffer? But a well set up bike doesn't need a stiff steering or stiff handlebars. Again, if you are constantly fiddling with your settings on the damper, you might be masking a bigger bike setup issue, which Levi said earlier, as I mentioned. Now, according to Bob Collins, when he did the Isle of Man and Northwest 200, he was constantly going out, changing the clicks from soft to hard or medium and vice versa. And also on the road racing conditions, they could be different on every single turn. So he had to find the right setup which really suited him. Now on the other side, with closed circuit racing, Levi Day made a really good point that he wouldn't really change his damper settings straight away. If he feels something isn't right on the bike, he will adjust all the suspension settings and everything else on the bike, alignment, everything else, before he starts messing with like a stiffer setting so he gets better stability. Because what you got to remember is, if you are used to a softer handlebar setting, and if you change it to stiffer setting, that means the bike is harder to turn. So you got to work a bit more harder on the bike. You probably have to lean a bit more, or hang out a bit more, or put a lot more pressures on the foot peg. So before changing the settings on your steering damper, so you are not used to something completely like an alien setting, change everything else on the bike, make them perfect, and the last thing you want to do is then change the steering damper setting to suit what you think is right for you. Now the next question is, how did changing steering damper settings help me? Earlier in this video I spoke about how Stuart Jenner from Redline Track Days made my steering damper settings really heavy, because I was feeling a lot of juddering after that crest at Portimao, and that gave me so much confidence. Straight away in the next session I gained 3 seconds. Same thing with Cadwell Park. First time at Cadwell Park last year, mountain, no problem. I had a beautiful wheelie there, and every time the bike would come down, I would just ready for the next kind of left right combination, because just adjusting the steering damper setting, making it a bit more stiffer, gave me a lot more confidence on the bike. It was stiffer, but I changed my riding style and really gave me a lot of confidence. And I think I did about, in my first time at Cadwell, I think I did a 1:44, and I was really confident and really happy with the bike in general. So from Portimao to Cadwell, how like two similar racetracks but different in many ways as well, how steering damper really helped me getting that confidence in my bike, which led to some decent lap times. So guys, I really wanted to end this video by saying that for us riders, on track or on road, the most important thing is confidence. And how do we get that confidence is through stability and contact patch. A few months ago I made a video about an over suspension device, which was for the rear oscillations of the bike, the rear instability of the bike. That video did really well. That product is doing really well, and now that product is used, the over suspension device is used in British Superbikes and World Superbikes. Now that was for the rear of the bike. This is for the front of the bike. So your steering damper is only got one knob, soft or hard. So next time you go out there on the track or on the road, just play with the settings, do some clicks and see how you feel. And that's all there is to it. And you would be surprised how much difference it makes. Sometimes it makes your life a bit easier with having a soft setting, so you can move around easier. Sometimes if you see road conditions are kind of like all over the place, you want a bit more of a harder setting. Or if you are a guy who constantly does wheelie, maybe a harder setting is best. So just play around with the setting and don't get worried about these steering dampers. They're like, you know, they're nothing much. They've only got one knob, just hard and soft. See what you feel like. Hope you guys found this video interesting. If you like my stuff, if you like what I do and information is helpful, like this video please, and also subscribe to the channel so you get more videos like this. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. Keep safe, look after yourself, take care.